What is up guys, Andy Forestine Runner here, and today we're testing out the Nike ZoomX VAPORFLY NEXT on the long run. So there we go, 20 hot and relatively fast miles done and dusted in the Nike ZoomX VAPORFLY NEXT, which now completes testing in this shoe. Today we're going to be diving in and talking about how I found this thing on the long run, talking about the long run itself and my overall verdict with this shoe. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and without further ado, let's dive in. So let's very quickly talk about the long run before we talk about the shoe itself. Today the goal was to get another 20 miles banked. That is the 10th 18+ mile long run done and dusted in a row, which is fantastic. Training's been going amazing, and today just capped off another fantastic week. The highest mileage week I've ever ran, 68 miles. And I'm happy to say that this thing passed the test with flying colours. We decided to loop the cycle track. It's an extremely hot summer period at the moment here in the UK, and I knew that today in its peak temperatures it was going to get up to 25 degrees, so we wanted to get out nice and early. We started at 7:30 and we hit the cycle track loop. Now, just as per the Saucony and Dolphin Pro video, just so those of you are aware, yes, I did run predominantly in trails on this shoe, very flat, buffed out trails. I know a lot of you are going to say it's a road shoe, it's a road racing shoe. I know. The footage you saw was on a road section of the cycle trail, but at the moment, still with lockdown rules in place, I don't feel comfortable driving somewhere to go and do a run. So I'm just going to use what I have around here. And the cycle track is as good as it's going to get. It's nice and flat and very, very runnable. So we decided to loop the cycle track. It's nice and shady. We knew we weren't going to be out in the scorching heat. Loop it round clockwise because there's a big hill. Sorry, anti-clockwise first. So we come up the big hill, get back to where we kind of started, do a little extra half mile, and then go back the other way so that we flew down the big hill, but then had a longer gradual climb towards the end. So overall it was a really solid run, clocking over 1,000 foot of elevation, running, as you've seen by the stats, 6:25 minute mile pace. Actually, my watch is getting really bad now. We actually run 20.15 miles according to Matt's watch. 6:21 average pace, but my watch was lagging behind as always. So overall the run in the shoe was really, really solid. So let's talk about the shoe and its performance itself. What I had in my mind before I found out the weather forecast for today was that I really wanted to test this shoe and put some good effort into it, and I kind of wanted to save a little bit of energy for the end. However, with the weather as it was, I knew that it would probably be a little bit stupid to go out all guns blazing and absolutely flake towards the end. So we kind of kept it relatively steady in the first loop, very chatty, very conversational, did the first loop nicely, came back down the big hill, hit half marathon around 1:24:30. And that's when things started to get serious, and I knew that I had a 3.5 mile grind uphill from that point, so I wanted to put the shoe through its paces and see how I felt. And I've got to be honest with you, I ran faster on that uphill section in these shoes than I did on Thursday's tempo run in the fuel cell TCs by about 5 or 6 seconds a mile, which is insane because I felt so good from start to finish. And a lot of you guys said this thing will show you what it's made of when you get further and further into the run, and I could not agree more. It honestly came into its own, and I'm delighted to say that when we got to the top of the hill and we crested at 17 miles and we had 3 miles to go, which were flat downhill and then the last mile of rolling hills, I was feeling epic, and myself and Matt surged, and we surged well. Matt was dragging me up the hill. I was sat right on his heels. We were doing really, really well. And then I noticed that he was kind of unintentionally or intentionally just kept surging a little bit. Whether it was just pushing the pace or not, I don't know. Just a side note, it's an absolute pleasure to run with Matt. He's a phenomenal athlete, and I recommend if any of you can run with someone quicker than you, you learn a lot from them. So anyway, I decided at 18 miles to jump in front of Matt and say, right, it's my turn to surge, and I started surging, and of course we clocked a 6:04 mile and then a 5:53 on the 19th mile, which is absolutely insane. I did a couple of surges in there, Matt did a couple of surges, and we were just yo-yoing back and forth, and this shoe handled every single thing I threw at it. It was absolutely great, and even on the last mile when we had a couple of rolling hills, I still managed to clock a 6:20 mile, and it just felt absolutely effortless. I got to the end of this 20-mile run and I felt absolutely great. So moving on to my overall thoughts on this shoe, how I'm going to be using it moving forward. As I said before, I'm going to keep the comparison to the Endorphin Pro for the other video, because you guys know we've got part 2 coming up later this week. Now we've done the long run in both of the shoes. But how am I going to use it moving forward? This shoe for me obviously is now going to be boxed back up. It's going to be cleaned. It's a bit dirty now it's been on the trails, but thankfully not scuffed up at all, which is great. It's going back in the box, and we're going to be testing it out on a time trial at some point, and that's pretty much going to be about it. For me, this thing falls into the half marathon and above category. I know a lot of you guys say to me you can run it in any distance in this shoe. I agree. I really agree. I think even in a 5K, this thing would be wicked, and I know that the 5K world record was set in this shoe. So I'm not saying that you should reserve this shoe for later. Just for me personally, I'm going to be reserving this thing for half marathons and above. I am going to run probably a 10K and a 5K in this shoe, but my preference is going to be the half marathon and above. You guys were exactly right in what you were saying. This thing comes into life the further and further you run into the shoe. And I've got to be honest with you, that initial 7-mile tempo run really didn't do this shoe any justice. It felt like it needed a bit of breaking in. I don't know if either of you guys have had that experience with this shoe, and I'd love to hear if you felt a shoe needed any breaking in period in the comments below. That 7-mile tempo run just did not do the shoe justice. When I took it to the track the following week for those 1K reps, it was out of this world, and today it was out of this world, and I see the hype, I believe the hype, and I get what everyone is talking about. But I've got to make a really, really important point. Before I tried any carbon plated shoes, I used to think that these things were magic, and I made a comment to Matt today. I wonder how many people would buy these shoes, save them for race day, put them on and think, oh, everyone runs quicker in these shoes, so I must run quicker, and they go out too hard and they blow up. You've got to have the engine to utilize these shoes. I'm not saying you have to have my engine or a quick engine, but you've got to have an engine that's capable of running in the shoes. Don't think that buying these things is going to make you a darn sight quicker. It just does not work like that. Yes, they're efficient. Yes, they help, but you still need to put the work in to get the results out. So that's one thing I'm going to say, and I think that's a negative that I hear from a lot of people that have never tried a carbon plated shoe. They look at these, say they're cheating shoes, they're this, they're that. I hear you, I get it, but don't knock it until you've tried it. I worked hard for this run today. I've worked hard all my training, and I'm not going to say that it was the shoes today. It was a combination of these things keeping me fresh and the hard work that I've been putting in. So overall, I'm definitely going to be using it for half marathons and above. I think this thing is going to be absolutely phenomenal on a half marathon, and I'm really hoping that it's going to take me to that next goal that I have of the sub 1:15 half. There we go, those are my overall thoughts on the Nike ZoomX VAPORFLY Next Percent. I would love to hear from you guys if you've run in this shoe, what your preference is with this shoe and how you like to use it, if you find it as good, I'll be honest, as I found it now. As you saw in my initial videos, I wasn't 100% sold on it after that tempo run, but now I get it, I fully get it, and I'm super, super hyped to be trying this in a time trial at some point in the near future, and then again when the races kick back off. So do let me know in the comments below if you've run in the shoe, what your thoughts are and what other racing shoes you are super excited to see later in the year. Of course, we have the Essex Metarator, we have the New Balance RC, we have, what else do we have? We've got the Endorphin Pro now, so many other racing shoes. Was it there's a Brooks one coming out, the version 2 later in the year, and it's just kind of like, wow, the Hoka Carbon, the Rocket X, so many to choose from. And that's why I think when I get a fair few of these shoes to test, I'm going to be reserving these for maybe the longer stuff, because I have a feeling things like the Meta Racer and the Endorphin Pro are going to be absolutely on the money for those shorter distance. Anyway, I digress. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you like it. Stay tuned for the Saucony Endorphin Pro versus Nike ZoomX VAPORFLY Next long run test comparison video coming later this week, giving you guys my final and overall thoughts on these two amazing shoes. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Until then.